Hello, hello. Hi. We are back for a session on publishing. Let's start there. Let's start with publishing. And the reason that I want to start with publishing because that's what you need to know. In order to become a published author, you need to know what you're up against. First of all, to become a published author, you have to know that it is not free. And a lot of us think, well, I'm writing the book and I'm doing all the work, and the publisher should just do this for me for free. No, that's not the case. So let's do the first thing first. I tell all of my writers, let's find out what we're up against. If we're going to spend a year to 2 years, maybe even 3 years, writing down all of your soul and your deep passion into a manuscript and then into a book, you want to publish it. If you don't, then that's okay. You still want to just write it. And some of you may want to just write it for your family, just to give to your children. Just to have, you may want to do your memoirs where you I just want this to have as a legacy to leave behind. There's a story in all of us. I always say that. So first, I want to do this. I want to go over what it took for me to become an author and write 7 books. That's what I'm at now, 7 published books. And I published in other magazines and in other people's books, and I don't count those, but I count the ones that I actually authored. And so I have 7, and I went through a lot. And let's go back and talk about me as a beginner like you. Here I am. I'm ignorant, and that's what you are when you don't know the ropes, so you don't know what you're doing. You're just jumping in the water. I can't swim, I'm just going to jump in. We do that sometimes, and we find that we learn hard lessons. I feel like because I was so passionate about being a writer, I didn't give up. A lot of people, when these things happen to them, will probably give up and never really work to beat it and become what they want to become, or find their real true passion. And maybe it wasn't a passion, because if you give up, it wasn't a passion. So I feel like a lot of bumps in the road is as lessons learned. And I learned a lot. I've had lots of bumps in the road, as many of you know if you know my history, you know my story. We're going to start with my first book. My first book I published, and I was just, from 12 years old, I wanted to become a writer. I know that. I couldn't read, I couldn't spell, but I knew I wanted to tell stories and I wanted to be a writer. So I jumped in because this story that I learned from my grandfather and from my mother was intriguing to me. And as I got older, I started having all these nightmares. So I really wanted to write this story. So I didn't do the thing that I should have done, like what I'm telling you that you should do. When you get ready to write, no matter whether it's a true life story, a fiction, or whatever, you need to do your homework. You need to search and find out what the ropes are, what are the hurdles, what do I have to go through, what I have to have, what is the cost, how long is it going to take. You need to ask yourself all those questions. You need to really search and get some answers if you don't have a coach like Miss Millie. You need to find out about the publishing company. How long have they been publishing? You need to find out what they're going to cost you, what it's going to charge you to do it. What are your rights when it comes to publishing a book? And that's the most important thing. The publishing company has a right to take your contract and publish that book for you. You have a right to read that and get an attorney to take a look at it and make sure that you're being treated right and everything is fair. But the most important thing you need to know is that this book, say it's your book, this was my book, my first book, you have a right to sign off on every single thing that has to do with this book. From the cover design, to the putting the book together, to the pages, the cover colors of the page, whether you want it white, cream, black, blue, whatever color you want, whether you want pictures in it, you have a right to know that. The publishing company cannot take a book from you, a manuscript from you, and tell you this is going to be your cover. This is going to be your pages. Well, when I did this wasn't my idea. It was my idea to write about J. Edgar Hoover passing for white, but not my idea to put a black and white face on here to make it look like a monster. I'm not sitting here saying that the guy that designed this did this on his own. He did this, and other people that were involved with me. And you have to be very careful that you don't get people around you just about money and they really don't care about how your property look. That's another thing, because sometimes when people think you got money, they'll just do a lot of things and throw it together, and then once it's done, once this book is done, you got to sell it. You got to be the one to go out and get somebody to put this in their store, or go to conferences or lectures and speaking engagements, and this got to be a book that when someone flips it over, they see your picture or whatever you put on the back, and they read this on the back, which is called your back matter. Back matter is about what a little short synopsis of what the book is about. And so that's very, very important. The back of the book is very, very important because it causes your reader to buy the book. The first thing you'll see people do, they'll look at the front cover. The front cover catches them. They'll turn it over, and the back matter should draw them in. It should make them want to read the inside of this book. So that's what you do, is you have to make sure that your back matter is a synopsis of your story, which is a tease. It's like a trailer of a movie. I mean, oh my God, I got to read that book. I want to read that book. That's what it should be like. You have to make sure that you are satisfied with your cover. If you're not satisfied with it, 9 times out of 10, the people that you're telling to buy your book is not going to be satisfied with it either. They're going to have some things that they're going to say that's not going to make you happy. So you need to make sure of that. I was the publisher of this book, but I was being led by people because I didn't know, like you don't know. I thought it was okay until I started getting feedback from other people that were looking at it when I was lecturing. And I was doing book signing, because it was a very powerful story. I was hearing things that it was not of me, because anybody that really, really know me knows that I don't like being evil, and I don't like putting people down or more hatred. Most important thing, writing this book, I didn't want it to be hateful. I wanted no hatred at all, because my cousin J. Edgar Hoover did enough hatred in this world for us all. I did not want to follow in his footsteps, so I pulled the book off the shelf. So that was you're talking about $5,000 or $6,000 right there. So that's the first lesson in publishing that I wanted to give to you. And also, you have a right to the color of your pages. I don't really like snow white pages. A lot of people do. I don't, and simply because of me finding out that I was dyslexic, which is part of the reason that I was illiterate when I finished high school. I was illiterate because I didn't really learn how to read, but also being dyslexic scared me. In my head, words would move, and especially on white paper. I could never make the words sit down so I could really read them. And even today, if I pick up somebody's book and it's white pages, I cannot read it unless I have on shades or like a dark brown color of lens of a shade that breaks down the glare of the white. And once you have dyslexic, you always have it. So that's part of the problem. So I like off-white pages, and you will notice that in all of my books you'll see off-white pages. So that's part of what you as a new writer have a right to. You have a right to every single chapter that's being edited or put together by the publisher. You have every right to sign off on that. I don't know if your publisher has, and most publishers do have their editors inside the company, so they send you a chapter by chapter or page by page or whatever they send you to look at. You need to have that and sign off on it, so when it comes back in your hand for your last look through, then you know that book you had control of that book. So that's part of publishing. We're going to do more on publishing cost. We're going to do more on when you get the book back, what it looks like. We're going to do more on what it looks like when you get a galley back. What's a galley? What's a manuscript? All of that in some of your lessons. This is lesson 1 on publishing. Coming to you from Miss Millie on the Miss Millie Show and New Writers in Action. First session. God bless you, God keep you, and I will see you on the next time. Hang in there for session number 2. Bye now. Bye-bye.